Hi, everyone. It's Dr. Perriello at Pediatric Associates. And I have a special guest with me today, Shannon Noe from ReadyKids. Hi, Shannon.
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm so glad that she was able to come on with me today because she and I were talking about how I know in our office we have been seeing a lot of families who are having issues with behavior with their kids of all ages. And we thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about where that might be coming from and tips of things that we can do to help families. So take it away, Shannon.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, and this is such a relevant topic. It's something that we are hearing a lot through our counseling program at ReadyKids also. And so hopefully some of these tips might resonate with you or might be helpful. The reality is that we're all stressed right now in ways that we've never felt before. We're trying to balance lots of stressors and then also managing fear around the pandemic, fear that our kids are having, fear that we're having. It's really uncharted territory. So it's not surprising that kids are struggling. And when that happens, when kids are having a hard time, you can expect that they're going to act out. That is how kids communicate when they don't have the words to put to what they're feeling. And so hopefully some of these tips that I have will be helpful in order to try to think about it a little bit differently. Like I said, all behavior is communication. And right now, I think our kids are really trying to tell us that they're wrestling with a lot of really big topics. If you think about it, there's so many things happening for them. You know, I'm a parent also. I'm at home with a 6-year-old and 4-year-old twins. And so, you know, I think they probably wonder, like, why is mommy so impatient? Why can't my brother leave me alone? You know, you're telling me to do schoolwork, but you're not explaining it very well. My teacher does a way better job than you do. You know, why can't we go to the park? Or, you know, my dad is still working. Is he going to get sick? Is my grandma okay? I mean, there's just like, these are huge thoughts and feelings that kids are having. And instead of articulating it like I just did, what they do is, and I'll speak from, you know, the first half of my day this morning, which is run from me screaming when I ask them to do schoolwork, or interrupt my work phone call after I've told them not to. You know, they yell at me when I tell them they have to turn off the screen, or they get into fights with each other because they're bored. You know, there's all these things that they're doing. And as a parent, I have to say, you know, I'm already stressed. And so to have all of that piling up on top of what I'm trying to handle, is just really hard. And so here are some of the things that I think have worked for me, and I'm hoping will work for you. The first one really is to try to calm yourself first. Easier said than done, but really, you know, the kids are having a hard time and they need our help. They don't need us to, as I like to say, bring any additional drama to the situation. Yelling at them or trying to even punish them isn't going to fix what
Doesn't work at all.
No, it just doesn't. It just doesn't, because if you don't address the deeper need that they're trying to get at, it's only going to escalate or get worse. Even ignoring something isn't going to make it go away. Eventually, it will just explode. And so how do we get to that deeper need in order to be able to address that? And so that's one of my tips we'll get to. The other thing that I'll say is just really try to consider, how much does this particular limit that you've set matter right now? So we're in a global pandemic. Exactly. So in the big picture, does it really matter if my 6-year-old does every single assignment that his teacher has suggested? No, it doesn't. No. Should he do the ones that are highly suggested that would be really good for him? Yes, he should do those. But the ones that are sort of extra, we can let go on a day that he's just not feeling it. Yeah, it may not matter. This is one that I really had to let go of. It may not matter if they're in front of the screen a little longer than usual, if it means that there's harmony in the house and that I can get through a work meeting, you know, in order to maintain my job. Like, it's just something we're having to do right now. So sort of just relaxing a little bit around some of those things is a tip I have. So another one would be to really start, when it comes to these challenging behaviors, by connecting with kids before you try to redirect them. So, saying something like, gosh, it really seems like you're not into the schoolwork right now. It's really not feeling fun for you, is a way to sort of acknowledge, instead of saying like, I told you to do this work and you need to sit here and do it. It's more of, I can tell that this is not what you want to do right now. Or I know I'm not as good at this as your teachers are, and that you really miss them. Like that is the reality for them right now. Or, I'm in the middle of a work meeting and you really needed me at that moment. And it's hard when I'm on the computer so much. I mean, my kids have never seen me sit in front of the computer nearly the amount of time that I'm having to right now. So it's confusing for them, and they're trying to really figure out sort of, can mommy still take care of me while she's working? And so
sometimes just saying it out loud too, just naming it really can sometimes take kids from way up here to down a little bit just by having their feeling acknowledged.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, once you can put words to it, then they can put words to it, So that's one of the things in counseling we work so hard on, is really trying to help kids find a way to communicate verbally so that they don't then have to show us in other less helpful or healthy ways. Yeah, so if it's something, that you do need to set a limit around, be very clear about it. And then tell your child what they can do whenever possible. So less about what they can't do and more about, this is what you can do. And if there are choices, choices are huge right now because there's so many things that are out of a kid's control. If you can provide them with choices, that can really empower them to feel like they have some ownership and some say in what's happening for them right now.
That's so
so an example would be like, we do need to get schoolwork done for you this morning, and I can see you're feeling overwhelmed, so let's take a break, we'll grab a snack, and then when we come back, you can decide whether we do the math assignment or the reading, and then we can do the reading one tomorrow. Like, we don't have to belabor the point. We can try now and then do it later. So acknowledging their feelings, letting them take a break, and then giving them some choices. Or it's time to turn the screen off now. I know that that's really hard for you to do, so I'll do it for you, and then we'll go for a walk together. Sort of just really giving them like something else to look forward to once their screen time's over. And here's my favorite one that I've been using is when I'm on the phone or when I'm on the computer and you need me, I still need you to be really quiet, but you can write me a note or draw me a picture about what you need, and I will always look at it, and I will read it, and I'll try to help, even in the midst of what I'm also doing on the computer. So really just giving them an avenue to reach me that doesn't involve interrupting or being loud, or, so that nobody has to feel frustrated.
That's great. What age do you think that works well for?
My 6-year-old has done it. It's so sweet because he's just learning how to write and spell. So I'm having to kind of figure out what he's trying to say. But I mean, I think school-aged kids, honestly, could do that, especially if with some coaching ahead of time to like, this is going to be our process, and this is what we can do when mommy's on the phone or on the computer.
So planning ahead can be a really useful tool as well, I think. So trying to anticipate all these situations that are happening and giving them tools to use during the hard situations, I think that's a really big help.
A big one, yeah. And one of my tips is doing prevention, like prevention maintenance, so that in the moment you've got a foundation you can build from. So some prevention style tips would be to make sure that the day is filled with lots of laughter and physical activity to sort of reduce stress. So, in those moments when we do have to sit inside or when mommy does have to be on a meeting, if we've spent the morning outside, they're much more agreeable and can handle that hour that I can't be at their, meeting every need. I joke that I have to put in the time in order for them to give me the time that I need. And so it's really is sort of like a dance back and forth that we do at home right now. And then their routine, like the thing that I found so helpful is the routine. Like they know that mommy works from 10 to 12 and then from like 1 to 3, and that they have other responsibilities that they do during that time, whether it's rest time or that they get to watch a show or things like that. And so it's predictable for them, and we've really gotten into a rhythm. I was joking with someone that I was going to make a funny video about like what it's like to work from home, and my kids have just gotten too good for it to be funny anymore, because they actually will leave me alone for the most part. So it's a good thing.
It's exciting.
Yeah, I'm feeling good about that. So anyway, one of the other thoughts I have is just to welcome all emotions. So remember that behind anger, you're going to find fear, you're going to find sadness. And so if your child is angry, don't respond back in anger, but take a deep breath, stay calm, and really invite the feeling that's underneath of that to come forth, because that's where you're going to make a difference, and that's where you're going to really understand the path forward for your child in that moment is through not the anger, but what's underneath of all of that.
I think it's also helpful when parents name the feelings in themselves also, because I think so often parents their first instinct is to hide those feelings, which we don't always do very well, especially right now. But just to even just say out loud, mommy's feeling really frustrated right now because I was trying to get this project done and I can't. So I'm going to take a couple deep breaths and reset myself. So you've given them permission that having these big feelings is okay, and also given a little strategy of how grown-ups even handle it.
Yeah, absolutely. And to your point that you even mentioned earlier too, about talking about feelings and being able to name it yourself, once kids can do that, everything becomes so much more manageable. Like you can regain control over your feelings and over your fears if you can name them and really get them out there. And so whether it's about the pandemic or about I'm worried I'm not going to be able to move on in school, or I'm worried my friends are going to forget about me, or like whatever it is, to be able to just name it is so empowering for kids. For
then
sure.
If you come up with a strategy and it didn't work very well, like I can imagine one of my children for whom the drawing a picture might not work very well, but you could try it. And then sometimes I'll tell families later when there's a quiet sort of happier moment to say, you know what, we had this plan to do this picture or have you write me a note, but that didn't seem to work very well. Let's come up with another strategy. And then they feel like they're part of the decision making around that strategy.
I love that. Yeah, really to bring them into it, because then they feel they're more willing to engage in the solution because they've been a part of creating it. And yeah, for sure, definitely.
But not trying it in that moment when it's not working, which is what we usually try to do.
Oh, I know. Like it's never fails. 5 minutes before my meeting will start, like somebody's crying and I'm like, oh my gosh, we have 5 minutes to figure this out before the meeting starts. And just like that extra pressure that I put on myself, like does not help. And so just being like, the meeting can wait, even if I'm a minute late, it'll be worth it to get this feeling understood and addressed. Yeah, it's just putting in the work now for a longer, more bang for your buck, I guess. So anyway, yeah, so if you can address the needs behind the repeated misbehavior that you're seeing, then that's what's going to really create a change for your family. If your kids are fighting, try to think, it's frustrating that they're fighting, but what's behind that? So maybe they're trying to get your attention. Maybe they're bored. Maybe there's some sort of sibling rivalry going on that you would want to try to get at. And so maybe creating more one-on-one time with them or giving them special jobs to do might be really the answer versus being punitive about the actual fight itself, if that makes sense. Yeah. And then this is my favorite one is the last tip I have is to just really do whatever you need to do every single day to replenish yourself so that you can stay open and emotionally available for your kids. And I know it's hard, but finding some time here and there to really fill up, as a parent, to really fill up your cup will just make it so much easier for you to be available for your kids later on when they really need you. I start every day with a nice run in the neighborhood. I have to be outside. I have to move my body. And then I'm just a much better parent for the rest of the day if I can get that done. And I know that about myself. And so we make that a priority for me in my house, just to make it a healthy place for us all to be.
Yeah. And I know a lot of times parents will know they're supposed to do it and they just can't find the time. And so there's lots of ways to do that, even in 1 or 2 minutes, whether it's just finding a deep breathing strategy that works for you, or you can do a lot even in 1 or 2 minutes if you don't feel like you have a longer time to reset yourself for the day.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so yes, it's a tough time for us all, and I know it is possible to get through this and build stronger bonds with our kids, despite all the challenging behaviors that they're dishing up for us right now. And I know for me, and I know all of us at ReadyKids, we just hope that love is all around you in this really hard time, whether it's in your house or outside, hopefully in your house and outside of your house, all around you, and that love is what your kids will remember about their time at home when it's all said and done.
Thank you for all those tips. I'm definitely going to take some of those for my own home, but hopefully this will give some people some good things to try. And we're so grateful for you all in the community doing all the work you are. So have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.
For chatting.